My father-in-law stood in the doorway of my office, the office where I had spent 5 years saving his failing company, and said the words that would cost him $40 million. Jennifer, we've decided to make a change. My son Brandon will be taking over your position. No offense, but women don't really understand manufacturing. It's a man's world. I watched my husband David stand behind his father in silence, offering me nothing. No defense, no protest, just cowardice wrapped in an expensive suit. That night at home, David made it worse. "Maybe it's time you focused fully on kitchen duties anyway," he said with a dismissive shrug. Then he brought her home, Victoria Lawrence, the hotshot consultant who had promised to upscale the company. They had no idea that for 2 years I had been the anonymous J. Foster Consulting, managing 50% of their revenue through their 3 biggest clients. As I silently packed my things and filed for divorce, I made 3 phone calls that would bring their empire to its knees. You won't believe what happened next. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let me know where you're listening from in the comments. My name is Jennifer Foster, and I am 34 years old. 5 years ago, I married David Foster and joined his family's manufacturing company. It was supposed to be a partnership. Me bringing my operations expertise, them providing the established business. But from day one, my father-in-law Robert made it clear what he thought of women in manufacturing. "You can handle admin work," he said. "Nothing too complicated." I was given the title of operations coordinator, which was basically a glorified secretary position. But I saw everything wrong with that company. Outdated processes, missed deadlines, unhappy clients bleeding money. At night, I created detailed reports on how to fix everything. David dismissed every single one. "Dad's been doing this for 30 years. He knows what he's doing." So I started fixing things quietly, reorganizing workflows, rebuilding supplier relationships, implementing quality controls nobody asked for. Within 6 months, production efficiency jumped 20%. Robert took full credit. "Finally getting my hands dirty again," he announced at the next board meeting. I said nothing. I just kept working. Over 5 years, I transformed that company. I restructured the entire supply chain, negotiated better contracts, saved client relationships that were falling apart. The company went from near bankruptcy to profitable in 18 months, and Robert praised his younger son Brandon for all of it. Brandon, who could not even read a production report without my help. Brandon, who made terrible decisions I had to quietly fix every single week. But here is what they did not know. 2 years into my time there, I started J. Foster Consulting on the side. I used my maiden name and worked completely anonymously. I built a reputation as a manufacturing operations expert, and eventually, 3 of Foster Manufacturing's biggest clients approached me for additional consulting. These 3 clients represented $40 million in annual revenue to the company. I took them on. I was essentially consulting for my father-in-law's clients without him ever knowing. My expertise kept them loyal to Foster Manufacturing while I built my own portfolio in the shadows. Then, everything changed when Victoria Lawrence walked into our lives. She was a high-profile business consultant with promises to take the company from $80 million to $200 million in 3 years. Robert loved her immediately. She identified my role as redundant and unclear. Robert agreed without hesitation. "We need to streamline, focus on core leadership." Victoria's real agenda was obvious to me: position herself and Brandon as the power duo and push me out completely. I overheard her tell Robert, "Your daughter-in-law is talented, but this is a man's industry. Brandon has the potential to lead with proper support." Robert ate it up. "Exactly what I've been thinking. Strong male leadership." That is when Robert walked into my office with HR and delivered his decision. "Brandon will be taking over your position. Women don't really understand manufacturing." I looked at David, who stood there like a statue. "David, are you going to say anything?" He shifted uncomfortably. "Dad's made his decision, Jen. Maybe it's for the best." 5 years of saving their company, and I got 2 weeks severance. I went home that evening to find Victoria having drinks with David and Brandon in my living room. She smiled at me. "No hard feelings, I hope." This is just business. Brandon was smug. Don't worry, sis. I'll take good care of your projects. Then David pulled me aside and said the words that ended our marriage. Maybe it's time you focused fully on kitchen duties anyway. We've been talking about starting a family. Victoria says this could be a good transition for you. I stared at him. You're serious right now? I'm trying to be supportive, he said. This is why Dad thinks women can't handle business. Too emotional. That night, I packed one suitcase and left. I drove to a hotel and filed for divorce electronically. Then I opened my laptop and pulled up 3 files. The 3 biggest clients of Foster Manufacturing. Clients I had been consulting for as J. Foster for 2 years. I called the first CEO, Marcus Thompson. Marcus, this is Jennifer Foster from J. Foster Consulting. I'm leaving to start my own manufacturing firm. I would love for you to consider moving your contract to my new company. His response was immediate. Jennifer, you've been instrumental in our success. If you're starting your own firm, we're following you. Send me the paperwork. Second call to Linda Rodriguez. Same result. Third call to James Wu. Same result. All 3 clients committed to moving their $40 million in contracts to my new company. Then I registered Foster Industries using my maiden name and fell asleep with my first real smile in years. The next morning, I woke to 47 missed calls from the Foster family. They had just learned their 3 biggest clients were terminating contracts. But they still had no idea that J. Foster Consulting, the consultant who took everything, was me. David called me 73 times in 2 days. I ignored every single one. Meanwhile, chaos erupted at Foster Manufacturing. Their CFO delivered the news in an emergency meeting. Without those 3 clients, they could not meet their obligations. They were looking at bankruptcy within 90 days. Robert was in complete shock. How is this possible? These clients have been with us for years. Brandon, clueless as ever, suggested offering discounts. Victoria had already tried calling the clients and got nowhere. They're moving to a new firm called Foster Industries, she reported. I've never heard of them. David's voice cut through the room. Foster Industries? That's Jennifer's maiden name? The silence must have been deafening, but they still did not connect the dots. They still did not realize that J. Foster Consulting and Jennifer Foster were the same person. Robert hired a private investigator, and 3 days later, the truth landed on his desk like a bomb. J. Foster Consulting had been operating for 2 years, anonymous consultant, worked with numerous manufacturing firms including their 3 former clients, and the tax records showed the same EIN registrant for both J. Foster Consulting and Foster Industries, Jennifer Marie Foster. I imagine Robert's face when he realized I had been consulting for their biggest clients for 2 years while working for him. That I had been the invisible force keeping those relationships strong. That I had been planning my exit long before they pushed me out. David called again. This time I answered. Jen, please. We made a mistake. Dad needs you. The company is in trouble. My voice was ice cold. That's not my problem anymore, David. Sign the divorce papers. 2 days later, Robert and David showed up at my temporary office unannounced. My assistant made them wait an hour while I finished a meeting with Marcus Thompson. When I finally emerged, Marcus nodded at Robert coldly and left without a word. Robert tried to use his old authority. Jennifer, we need to talk. This vendetta needs to stop. Vendetta? I smiled. I started a business. Clients chose to follow me. That's capitalism, Robert. David stepped forward desperately. We made mistakes, but this is destroying the family business. I spent 5 years building that business, I said. You threw me out and gave my job to your incompetent brother. These clients followed me because I'm good at what I do, something you never acknowledged. Robert's face flushed. We'll make it right. Come back. Better position. Better pay. I actually laughed. So I can watch you take credit again? So I can be dismissed when it's convenient? No, thank you. They left empty-handed, but Robert was not done. He and Victoria launched a smear campaign, leaking stories to trade publications about a vindictive former employee who poached clients. For 48 hours, the rumors flew. Then Marcus Thompson posted on LinkedIn defending me, explaining that J. Foster Consulting had been their trusted advisor for 2 years. Linda Rodriguez and James Wu posted similar statements. The industry response was swift. If 3 major companies chose Jennifer Foster over Foster Manufacturing, maybe the problem was not her. The smear campaign backfired completely. Over the next 60 days, I watched Foster Manufacturing crumble. Brandon made disastrous decisions trying to fill the revenue gap. Banks refused to extend credit. Employees started leaving, many of them joining my company. They missed payroll. News broke about potential bankruptcy. Then Robert showed up at my new office building and pushed past security. He barged into my office while I was on a conference call. "You destroyed us. How could you do this?" I calmly ended my call and stood to face him. "I destroyed you? Let me tell you what actually happened. I spent 5 years saving your company. I rebuilt your processes, saved your client relationships, fixed your son's endless mistakes. I made you profitable. And you threw me out because I'm a woman. You gave my job to Brandon, who cannot even read a production report. You brought Victoria into my home to celebrate pushing me out. You confused gender with competence. I did not destroy you, Robert. You destroyed yourselves. Those clients were ours," he shouted. "No, I earned them. I consulted for them for 2 years. They knew my work, my value. When I offered them something better, they chose me. That's business." He tried pleading, offering partnerships, making me VP. I walked to my office door and opened it. "There is something you can do. Leave. You're trespassing." Security escorted him out. He looked back at me one final time, broken, finally understanding that I held all the power now. As he disappeared down the hallway, my phone rang. It was the CEO of Titanium Corp., the largest manufacturing client in the region, worth $60 million annually. "We've heard about your work, Ms. Foster. We're looking for new operational consulting. Interested?" I smiled. I was not just surviving their collapse. I was about to become their biggest competitor. 90 days after I left, Foster Manufacturing filed for bankruptcy. Everything Robert had built was gone. His personal finances were destroyed because he had guaranteed the loans. Brandon lost his job and his reputation. Victoria disappeared to her next opportunity, leaving them with nothing. David sent me one final text. "I hope you're happy. You destroyed my family." I replied once. "I built your family business. You destroyed it when you chose pride over competence. Don't contact me again." Then I blocked his number permanently. 6 months later, Foster Industries was generating $65 million in annual revenue. I had landed the Titanium Corp contract plus 5 other major clients. I had hired 45 employees, many of them talented people who had jumped ship from Foster Manufacturing. My leadership team was diverse, merit-based, and brilliant. Manufacturing Today magazine featured me on their cover. Jennifer Foster, the consultant who became a powerhouse. In the interview, I did not name Foster Manufacturing directly, but everyone knew. I learned that your value is not determined by people who refuse to see it. Sometimes the best thing you can do is walk away and build something new. The article went viral in business circles. Young women in the industry reached out saying I had inspired them to start their own firms. Then Brandon requested a meeting. I almost declined, but curiosity won. He walked into my office completely different from the arrogant man I remembered. "I'm not here to ask for anything," he said. "I'm here to apologize and take responsibility." He told me he had been working as a line supervisor at a small plant, starting from the bottom, learning what he should have learned years ago. "I took credit for your work. I stood by while Dad pushed you out. Losing everything taught me that competence matters more than connections. You deserved better, and I wanted you to know that at least one person in my family finally understands." I nodded. "I appreciate you saying that. I hope you mean it." 1 year later, I received the Innovator of the Year award at the National Manufacturing Excellence Awards. In my acceptance speech, I said, "1 year ago, I was told women don't understand manufacturing. Today, my company generates more revenue than the one that fired me ever did. Never let someone else's limitations define your potential. The standing ovation felt like vindication. I ran into David by chance at a coffee shop months later. He was working as a mid-level manager somewhere else. "Congratulations on your award," he said quietly. "I've been in therapy, understanding how I failed you." "I'm glad you're getting help," I replied. "I know this does not change anything, but I'm sorry. You deserved a husband who stood up for you." "Yes, I did. But I'm not angry anymore. I'm grateful, actually. If you had defended me, I might have stayed. I might never have built my own company. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you leads to the best thing you ever do." We parted ways peacefully, and I felt completely free. The final chapter came when a young engineer named Maria sat in my office, telling me her boss took credit for her work. I saw myself in her immediately. "I want to start my own firm," she said, "but I don't know how." I smiled. "I mentor people who have been overlooked and underestimated. If you're serious, I'll teach you everything I know. But there's one condition. When you succeed, you help the next person. We break this cycle together." They thought they destroyed me when they pushed me out. They thought being a woman meant I could not understand manufacturing. They were wrong on both counts. I did not just survive. I built an empire. I took their biggest clients, doubled their revenue, and became the industry standard. They gave me 2 weeks severance and told me to focus on kitchen duties. I built a company worth twice what theirs ever was. The best revenge is not destruction. It's success so loud they cannot ignore it. Thanks for listening to the end. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories about standing up for yourself and building something extraordinary from the ashes.